Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Mike Rogers Show. Mike Rogers here with you, welcoming you to the show. And don't forget, subscribe and like this video because today's guest is a really special guest. He's a very dear friend of mine, and his name is Evan Murray, and he's from Taiwan. Yes, Evan, welcome.
Hey,
how are
you? Ni hao. How you doing?
I'm fine. So,
good. I'm good, man. I'm good.
So, Evan, it's great.
See you, Mike.
It's great to have you on the show. I really appreciate you making time for us.
All right, well, thanks. I mean, yeah, it's nice to be here, and I'm kind of excited to talk about all the fun things in store. So, I mean, I am living in Taiwan now, originally from Canada, but Taiwan has been my home since on and off since 2018. So it's it's
wow.
a beautiful place. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. Okay, so Evan, on this show, I've interviewed lots of famous Hollywood directors and writers and people like that. So we're into getting the backstory about what's going on. So tell us, what do you do in Taiwan?
All right, so in Taiwan, it might be a big answer. I'm going to try to not talk forever. So in Taiwan, I work for a company called Taiwan in Trend, and that's TINT for short. And what we're doing is we're working with different government agencies here to try to help, create exchange and development programs in countries like the United States and in Canada and throughout Europe. And I also work for, this company also has actually organizations based in Canada as well. So it's all about right now about elevating the Chinese language music and giving the Chinese language a space inside of Canada.
Okay, so you're doing exchange, but not exchange for like students. You're doing exchange for musicians.
Right. So I mean, I could use the term export, but the thing is that export is only sending people one way. And what we want to do is make this valuable for both parties involved. Mm-hmm. So when we're thinking about sending artists from Taiwan into Canada or into the United States, we want to be cognizant of the fact that, artists in Canada, the United States, would also probably like to be in Taiwan as well. And the thing is that we want to create those kind of synergies and relationships so that bands can actually exist in another country, and kind of try to build their career there while they're still living at home and have this exchange constantly happen. So not one-offs anymore. We don't want to send a bunch of artists just to one place, have them there for a little while, they come home and then they never do it again, nothing happens. We want to create some sort of environment and network, in the places that we go.
So recently, what artists have you done? And you've sent artists from Taiwan to Canada or the United States, or what have you done?
Yeah, so so this is all new. I've been working for this company for just the past couple months, but we do have a Taiwanese indigenous band, actually. They're called Ganada, and that's spelled like K-A-N-A-T-A-L. And they're actually doing a bunch of festivals. They're in Canada for 2.5 months. So they're in Canada doing I guess you'd call it almost like a residency program, because what happens is they go in, they have a bunch of festivals from Western Canada into Central Eastern Canada. And then they're also engaging with producers during the week. They're doing interviews during the week. They have collaborations during the week. And then they're playing festivals, excuse me, and then they're playing festivals on the weekend. So that's been going really good. I mean, we're making a documentary about it, about, how our program is, excuse me, how our program can benefit independent artists. And, Canada is also, they have a story. They're also spreading a message. And that's, a lot of reconciliation is happening in Canada. with the indigenous people. And the thing is that, Canada was very attracted to that because, they all have indigenous backgrounds here in Taiwan. So there's like a kind of a parallel there. And so they're kind of discovering, a lot of themselves while they're participating in this tour in Canada.
Does this band, do they speak English at all?
Yeah, a little bit. We've rehearsed some lines with them that we want them to say on stage. And actually, the girl in the band, her English is quite good.
Oh, that's good.
But the other guys, they're singing in their actual indigenous languages as well too. So it's really more about sharing the knowledge of these people exist, and sharing the cultural aspect through the songs. It's kind of just I think it's really interesting for Canadians too to learn about this.
Oh, so but the girl, she's the lead singer, right?
Well, actually, the band is they all sing, so it's a 4-piece harmony band, and that's what makes them really kind of powerful live. So there's not really any lead singer, but some of them, they take different leads on different songs, and then they all accompany each other in harmony.
Oh, so do you also arrange for foreign bands, I don't know, American or Canadian or bands from Europe? Do you arrange for them to come to Taiwan and play?
Well, that's the idea. So, for the past years, I was a touring musician myself, years ago, and I had toured all over, North America, inside of Europe. I think probably around 9 countries, and I had actually a rock band in India that did, fairly well for itself as well in the south of India. So I've explored helping other artists go into different territories. I've had artists from England and artists from Sweden go into India and play major festivals there and do TV shows. And actually, we got one girl on the cover of the Rolling Stone there. Her name mentioned on the Indie Gaga cover.
Wait a minute. In India, they have the Rolling Stone magazine?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's big. Yeah, it's they do reporting on they still do interviews with all the major American artists too, like Tool and all of them. So the thing is but it also reports on the the developing indie scene in India. Because just to kind of briefly talk about India really quickly, because I've been kind of working inside there for I guess it's been about almost 6 years now. India's entire music industry is dominated by the movie industry. So the thing is that by Bollywood, and what happens is it's kind of created this really it's actually really cultural, because what will happen is little children all the way up to grandfathers are listening to the same music because it's coming through the movies. So and then a lot of songs are really classic, and then they'll be redone in all these different kind of styles, even metal. There's a band called Thakaram Bridge, and they do these classic songs from film, in metal or prog rock style, and it's huge, right? Because the thing is all the kids and all the grandfathers and parents, they all know the same tunes because they watch the movies. And so I think it's quite interesting where the pop music industry on a standalone, in the United States or in Japan or Canada or wherever, it doesn't in India you're talking 98% movies, and the indie scene is just it's just emerging, right? It's such a incredible difference.
Well, that brings up what you were just mentioning about I don't remember if we were recording them, but you were mentioning about some promoters think that bands should just come and play, and I don't know if they ignore, but they don't really pay much attention to the mass media or the alternative media, or airplay on the radio and stuff like that. So this, I think this example you just told me about India being like it's movies. Man, if you get a song in the movies, you're there then.
Well, yeah, I want to talk about 2 points there, actually. So the first point is like, if COVID has taught us anything, is that just like you and I right now, like we're sitting, in 2 different countries, is that you can make your relationships online. You can do a lot of planning. You can sort of see the future, like a long ways away, and you don't have to, if COVID taught us anything, is that you can take your time. Just showing up to a country, the classic example is, these showcase conferences where people just show up and there's like absolutely nothing in place. Like they spend all this money for travel, all this money for food and accommodations, and they're flying over a crew and they got all these people, and it's like, hey, like they play these shows and they're like, oh, we'll meet these people, and they go back home and there's like 20,000, 30,000, USD in debt from doing this, and nothing came out of it. It was just a one-off. And there are agents out there and promoters out there that they're kind of happy to help people do that, and I just think we got to put a little bit more thought into what's going on.
Absolutely.
And I think you're right. Like there's people out there that have like e-zines and radio shows, any kind of publication, anywhere that you can be in front of people. Like if your music speaks for your performance, and your music helps people attract to you, right, then the thing is this media support is going to actually it just creates more and more visibility. It creates more and more opportunities. So yeah, I think the future should be different. I don't think people should be bouncing. And the other thing is, the second point I wanted to make was that where we talk about money in the music industry, I mean, the simple fact is this: like you have a much better chance making money online in the music industry these days than you might even have in real life, and because that's monetization. Monetization's become the epicenter of how people are making money online. It's all about the views. Then also, you got to think about publication, syncing, and also, video games and movies. If you can land a video game, video games are really where it's at, to be honest. If you land a music deal with a video game and that video game becomes popular, that's the new music industry, right?
Wow. So how would let's say I have a band and I want to make songs for like a certain game, shoot 'em up, kill 'em, whatever. And do I need I need a publicist or a music publisher? What do I need to do?
It's the game. That's the other thing about the game of the internet. Like it's I'd love to tell you ABC. Like in the old days, right? 20 years ago, what would happen is if you wanted to get on radio or television or in the newspapers, it's like, you'd go to a PR agency and you'd try to talk to someone there if they believed in you, or you'd have to pay them a monthly retainer, and they would, collect your information and they would use their contact list. Same with like radio tracking, right? Like you go to a radio tracker and he uses this contact list to shoot out your music to all these different people, and he gives you results. But because of the internet, it's changed so much, man. Really, the thing is, it's the world now is about relationships. Like you gotta be able to, like if you don't find yourself to be that kind of personable person that can, talk to people and make friendships and, be really, be able to connect with people, then you need to hire someone that can, because the thing is, your connections in this world now are what are going to make or break you, So, honestly. So, I'd love to tell you like, oh, well, if you want to get into video games, there is a type of person that you contact, but like maybe there is, but that person is, that person can be you nowadays, right? Like you can literally find your way in. But, you know, and that's one of the things, going to even like tech conferences or even Google. Google is such a, you know, heavyweight tool. Who knows? You might be connected to someone that knows someone that knows someone. And I mean, it's really about networks, right? It's really about networks. So.
Well, Evan, if you have songs that you want aired, all you have to do is send them to me.
All right. Well, that sounds good.
I'll play them, no problem. And if you're watching this video and you want airplay, all you have to do is send an MP3 to me, and please don't send me long texts. I don't read them. You mentioned about getting like an agent or a publicist or a publisher, and then paying them a retainer fee. Do you find that is a good way? I don't know, for lack of a better term, a good way of doing it nowadays? Because for me, I get so many songs every week. I get maybe 200 songs a week, and most of the songs from this kind of person who charges bands like a retainer or something like that.
A nominal fee.
Yeah, I don't. Very rarely do I play them, but if the band reaches out to me, it says I am from this band and stuff, I always listen to their songs.
Yeah, well, that's about building relationships again, right? Like, because there's a human component, and I think with the change of technology, or not technology, but the integration of, let's say, this kind of technology of being able to connect, I think people are more empathetic about, you know, people's plight to try to get their music out, and I don't think it's, you know, it's not necessary. I mean, for certain situations, maybe certain people won't respond to you. I mean, yeah, that's reality. I mean, that's part of, you know, I mean, the business before, like, people just, like, they were almost like told, like, you know, there'd be gatekeepers everywhere. And don't get me wrong, there's still gatekeepers nowadays for certain things. But back in the day, man, like when I was trying to build a career, like you could not get on FM radio unless you were paying some radio tracker like heavy amounts of money to reach out to his network. Like the radio, if you approach the FM stations, like in Canada, like they would have nothing to do with you because there was arrangements made and, you know, inside deals, you know. But the thing is, radio is not the most powerful asset anymore. Your most powerful assets, and we, you know, that's another thing we need to talk about in the music industry, is building assets. You have to build assets, and one of the most powerful assets you can have is actually just being an honest, decent person and making friendships around the world. Because I think a lot of your music career, or any kind of career where you're needing to be in other places to fulfill that purpose, or trying to get, you know, gather mass amounts of people, I do think it has to do with your network again. Like it really has to do with who you know is where you go nowadays. So
is it the same in, I don't know about Taiwan, in Japan? I would imagine it's the same. In Japan, what you just said is so true. If you have a friend and are introduced by this friend to whoever it is you're dealing with, they will treat you with utmost respect, especially if your friend is a very powerful person. But if you just go directly, you know, and talk to this person, it'll be difficult to get through. So what you said about building up assets and relationships, you have to start somewhere with these people and start meeting people, right?
Well, totally. So the thing is, like from where I, like in the capacity that I work, so I'm working for like non-for-profit companies in Canada, and, you know, and then we're working in a private company in Taiwan, is that if I'm going to help artists in any sort of way, I have to have friendships like yours, right? Because the thing is, if I engage with like the Japanese export culture and export people, or if I engage with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and we engage with these type of people to establish, you know, plans for, you know, artists to go into a country or do exchanges and these kind of things, is that I have to have relationships like you, with you, so that I can facilitate those kind of plans that, you know, our organizations would make with different government agencies as well. So the thing is, again, it's an ecosystem, right? Like it really is. I mean, there's all kinds of different people doing different things, and you know, you have to kind of mix and match, and then there's value here and value there, and I just don't think it's like, what, put it this way, like, why would you ever pay a promoter anymore to go and just play a couple venues in, you know, in a city that you have absolutely no connection with? Like, you could actually be talking to a guy like you, create that kind of promotion side, then you could be meeting bands. I mean, because bands want to travel too. So why, instead of paying some kind of promoter, why not try to collaborate with another artist, you know, in a two-way stream? And then organizations like that I work with are happy to kind of build plans around that, talk with government people, and try to facilitate that too, right?
Yeah. So, wow. Okay. Actually, I totally agree with that, and I'm so surprised. I don't know about Taiwan, but in Japan there are a few promoters who, it just seems to me that they're just like taking money from, you know, you want to come to Japan? Okay, well, pay me like $1,000 and then I'll arrange 4 or 5 shows with you. And then I go to these shows. The bands will ask me to show up, and sometimes I do. I'm an old guy, I don't go anywhere. But I show up, and then I see there's like 5 customers there. And I'm just
so that's exactly what we're trying to avoid. I mean, the thing is, like, when I got into the business side of the music and I saw what was going on from the, you know, like, I mean, I just, like, I'll just, you know, I don't want to talk too strongly, but it can make you sick that, you know, there are people out there, that are sitting, you know, like, I mean, sure, I could put out on my Facebook network, like, oh yeah, come to Taiwan, I'll book you some shows and drive you around in a van, you know, $20,000. And I mean, there's guys that do that, you know, like there's guys, I mean, I know a Canadian band that paid a guy in Japan like $20,000 to like drive him around a bunch of empty clubs, you know, like they did like, this happens, this exists. And the thing is, but it's about awareness, you know, like talking with people like you and sharing information where people can escape those pitfalls. Because anyone that's going to try to say like, hey, like I can consolidate your career is basically telling you that you're just not doing your due diligence. You know, like if you really want to be in a marketplace, you should really learn about that marketplace. You know,
that's right. That's exactly right. So, okay, wait. So, Evan, I'd like to come back and talk to you about just more like what your hobbies are and so your dreams are. And I also heard a rumor about a festival in Canada called Jade Music Fest, and I saw your name on there, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to contact you. And I'd like to come back to that in part 2. Is that okay with you?
Right on, man. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you so much to Mr. Evan Murray, and he will be back tomorrow for more interesting talk about what's going on in Thailand and what he's doing. Don't forget to subscribe and like this post, and also listen to the Mike Rogers Show, and the links are down here. Please check it out. See you tomorrow.